Hey guys, how's it going? Phil Texas here, and today I'm gonna be doing basically a reaction to an article. This article came out well now it'd be 3 days ago, of basically this woman coming out against Angry Joe about her experience with him. Now, there's been this is basically another Me Too thing, where someone came out by a streamer like, "Oh, this happened to me too." So basically, I'm gonna give my opinions on what this article is, how I feel about it. Reading it, I'm gonna read the entire thing and just give my thoughts on this. It's gonna be a very long video, so please, if you could, leave a like on this video, and if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and stay updated when I put out new content and stuff. So anyway, this is article, my interaction with Angry Joe. I've been holding exactly who this was in English for over 2 years now, but seeing other women come forward about other streamers, basically saying, I basically saw these other people who were getting a lot of views, and I kind of want that, so yay, me too, give me attention. I decided to come forward about the day/night of April 7th in 2018 at PAX East. So basically, you're now coming out with this 2 years later, okay? PAX East was my first event I was able to go to as a Twitch partner, and I was ecstatic. I've never been and was never been and was utterly overwhelmed. I was meeting so many cool streamers and people who watched my stream that I really felt so welcome. I eventually went to the Twitch partner party on the night of April 6, 2018, and brought along a friend I will call Alan. It felt nice having a friend I knew at a huge party like that, where we eventually met Markiplier. But then I started reaching out and randomly introducing myself to streamers and YouTubers. I figured if that didn't want to talk to me, I know and never leave them alone. As the night went on, I met a large group of YouTubers, some with millions of subs. I was drinking, but still very coherent during this time. Yeah, that's an awesome excuse. Oh yeah, I mean, if you're drinking a lot, you're probably not going to be very coherent at this time. But whatever. This is when I met Joe. He asked if I was a guest, and I said I was a smaller partner, but I brought my friend. He said cool and asked to follow me. I followed him back and was in awe because he was a larger YouTuber. Alan and I eventually went back to our Airbnb that we split after I turned down an after party from a friend because I had one too many Long Islands. So you were very coherent during this time, but you just admitted you had way too many Long Islands. That already doesn't make sense. If you say you were drinking, but you're still very coherent, you would have had the time to go to the after party, because you were still very coherent. But here you literally just said you had one too many Long Islands, which means you got fucked up. I did, however, DM everyone I met thanking them, saying that I was glad to meet them. Joe ended up replying, as seen below, inviting me to his panel. I said sure and was clearly oblivious to what the rest of his message meant, but wanted to believe he had no ill intentions. I gotta see this. Hey Joe, I was so glad to have met you. I was Ashley, the crazy lady dressed to impress. I definitely try I'll definitely try to stop by your panel tomorrow, and hopefully we can meet up again, maybe with less alcohol and more talk involved. Again, you just literally right here contradicted what you just said earlier when you said you were still very coherent at the time when you met him and stuff. But it says right here, maybe with less alcohol and more talk involved, and even right here, you even said, let's see, where is it? You had one too many Long Island iced teas. I believe it was, yeah, right here. I had one too many Long Islands. So literally, you just contradicted yourself twice. Angel responded with, of course, Ashley, you were such a cutie in your 80s gear. Again, that's just a compliment. I love that theming. Just got in myself, so heading to bed. Only just now. And deaf. See you at the panel. Which I haven't prepared for at all and will most likely be a complete disaster, lol. But maybe you can cheer me up afterwards if it sucks balls. Nothing wrong here. I don't really see how that's at all wrong, for sure, but I guarantee it won't suck at all. Of course, her saying he actually did want to grab dinner with me, and some people from YouTube after the panel. You said for sure. All right, so there's nothing inappropriate here that I see. It's literally just him being nice, being friendly. I don't really see anything at all inappropriate in these messages. Next day, after walking around, I get a message from him inviting me to a dinner with people from YouTube. Again, I assumed nothing of it and thought it'd be just for just thought it would be just be people I met the night before. So I agreed. I bring Alan with me and we sit through his panel, even though we both didn't watch the Angry Joe show, but you said you knew him up here. Never. Hold on, where does it say? You said that you knew him and said you were in awe because you know he had many. Well, I mean, I guess you could know without watching his content, but still, you said you knew him without watching his content. You said you knew him, so after the Q&A, Alan and I stuck around and I wanted to ask if Alan would come. Instead, Joe grabs me and says we have to go. Okay. He took me away from Alan. I looked back and just see Alan staring at what just happened as PAX East security is leading us backstage and through this corridor. Joe looks at me and says, I can't believe you came, and just smiled. And I said, yeah, of course, you asked me to. This is going to be a theme because she could have easily said no. And I've seen some of this article, and this is just ridiculous shit. So I said, yeah, of course he asked me to. Then he begins to brag that he can only really travel this way around PAX East or he gets swarmed. That's not really bragging, it's so much him telling you, yeah, I don't want us to get swarmed. I don't see that as a brag. The fuck? Like, the way you word that makes him sound like he was being, like, obnoxious douchebag. He was probably literally just telling you at the time, hey, listen, we probably the only way to go around here is because, we would get swarmed. It's whatever. I just laugh and say, yeah, I guess that's what happens with people like you. Uh, English? Don't you mean, yeah, I guess that's what happens with people like you, but whatever. Security eventually leads us to a back door, and we end up outside. He attempts to flag a cab down, but people recognize him and take pictures. He smiles and does it. Then we get in the cab. He complains the entire time how it smells, and how he usually only travels with Uber Black or with cars YouTube sends for him. Okay, that doesn't sound like Angry Joe, but whatever. I just nod my head because again, I'm just a small streamer who barely had money to come in the first place, and it felt like I was about to blow my entire food budget on one meal to eat with these YouTubers. You could have just said no. You could have just said no if why did you say yes? Now, you clearly had a chance to say no at this time, right? I mean, if you're really worried about this situation, you could have said no. This whole thing could have been avoided by you just saying no. But in this article, you'll see she's blowing things out of proportion. And we'll actually go on to Twitter to look at Angry Joe's response to this, because he did respond. Joe begins to freak out, and I ask him what's wrong. He started to say he lost his phone and was afraid a fan had it and couldn't believe it. He asked for my phone and called his phone. It ended up being in his pocket. He laughed and said, oh geez, then plucked away at his phone. I didn't think anything of it, but realized he now had my number. Okay, do you think maybe the guy probably was in such a panic and a rush to go ahead and get in that cab to go to his dinner that maybe he freaked out about his phone? I mean, I do that sometimes. You can ask my friends. I will literally have my phone in my pocket, and I would think I lost my phone until someone calls it and it's in my pocket, and I get embarrassed. All because he called his phone, which, he might not even known that it was in his pocket, makes him a villain? Okay. That doesn't mean he stole your number. That just means you're the one who gave, and also not to mention, you're the one who gave him your phone. You could have just as easily said no. Again, you could have just said no. If you didn't want him to have your number, why did you give him your phone to call his phone with? I say that's on you more than it is on him, lady. Instead of a restaurant, we end up in front of his hotel. He says it's fine, and it would only be a moment. So I get out and we walk with him inside. We walk to the hallway and I stay there, but little Joe, I think she means other Joe, and Joe himself invites me inside to sit down so I'm not standing in the hallway myself. So I do. Again, I'm assuming he doesn't have any bad intentions and doesn't want to be that person that says, "Hey, are you trying to sleep with me? I have a boyfriend." Well, you could have just told him when you were messaging him when he asked you to go out, and you could have said, "Yeah, but just so you know, I have a boyfriend." You failed to mention. I don't see anywhere here in these screenshots, right, where you mentioned to Joe that you have a boyfriend. This was in 2018, so he probably was single. He was. You could have mentioned right here in any of these screenshots that you have a boyfriend. That you have a boyfriend, but you didn't mention it. Again, I'm assuming he doesn't have bad intentions. When he asks, he was just being nice, so I just stay quiet and say sure. I'm just standing around and he ends up taking a shower, asking me to join him. I laugh and say you're funny. And he replied along the lines of, so there's no exact quote here. The whole time you were saying exact quotes, now it's along the lines of. I was saying he knew and the offer was on the table if I decided he wasn't joking. Okay. Again, don't see anything bad here. He wasn't forcing you in the shower. He was probably making a joke or kind of being serious. Who knows? By the time he's probably single, and again, he didn't know you had a boyfriend. This all could have been avoided if you told him. I stay standing, keep pacing. He eventually comes out dressed, but invited me to sit next to him. And I'm like, okay. So I sit at the foot of the bed, and he keeps asking me if I'm nervous, and I said yes. I thought we were going to leave, but it is a bit weird. He says, "There's nothing weird, I'm just waiting until they get the table." He puts me to put me at ease. He starts asking me about how I started streaming, and just small talk, then starts showing me pictures of his car and other things. But he does so in a way where I have to get close enough, and pretty close enough that I'm pretty much next to him on the bed. He then said, "Say cheese," and sent a picture of me next to him on the bed. I laughed nervously, but asked if we could go. He said, "Yep," got up, called other Joe to tell him that we're leaving, and we went down the stairs and got in a cab. Okay, so the guy was just trying to make small talk with you. He wasn't at all trying to be creepy. He was just trying to make small talk with you, and I believe you're just taking it out of context. Um, I mean, he was probably just taking a picture with you because, again, I take random pictures with my friends all the time. It's not even a big, it doesn't, again, it's all doesn't sound fucking creepy. I don't see how this is a bad thing. I don't see at all how this is fucking bad. Like, at all. It doesn't, at all. It just sounds like he's trying to be like, he probably thinks she's single. He was single at this time. You know, it just seems like he was, just trying to be nice and, trying to, have a relationship, try to be nice to her, maybe see if they wanted to go out more time. It just seems like normal things. It doesn't seem evil or anything. I'm in this cab. He's telling me how I like this place. At this point, I don't care how much it costs or where it is. I'm just glad someone else will be there. I bring up my phone and Joe tells me to put it away, enjoy the time with them, which I do understand that. I hate it when I'm with friends and they're on their phone. Like, dude, I invited you out. Let's just hang out. Don't worry about our fucking phones. I do get where Joe's coming from here. I will. That's pretty. I do see where he's coming from. So I do, assuming that he finds it rude. So I try to respect that. We finally get to this restaurant, and Joe starts telling me how expensive it is and how hard it is to get a table. Okay, he was probably telling you how nice the place is. I'm a bit nervous again, but I didn't have much money. But I kept that to myself because I agreed to come and I'm not going to expect anyone to pay for my food. As we're walking inside, Joe turns to me and says, "I have to tell them that you're my girl." And I look at him and I didn't understand because I assume we're just meeting YouTubers. He repeats it and just says, "Just go along with it," and then drives me in. Maybe he was, trying to say you're his girl so that way they wouldn't get, like, question why she's there, or maybe it was a way to help, them pay for your food. That we don't know that yet. Or he could have been just joking around. You never know. You know, again, this doesn't seem like bad stuff. Then she puts in the word, then dragged me in. It was probably just more he led, like, there's no way, man. Once inside, he started shaking people's hands, and I don't recognize anyone. You had to make sure you put that in all caps, didn't you? He introduced me as his girl, and doesn't mention my name once. I sit down and try to see if maybe I can remember who they were, but can't. Joe starts talking about YouTube and his account. I quickly realize he's talking to someone who manages his account, and everyone else at the table are executives or people who specifically deal with Angry Joe. I had absolutely no business being at this lunch. I stare at my plate the whole time and only look up when Joe feels the need to include me in the conversation or to nudge me. I attempt to contact Alan or my boyfriend, but Joe pushed my phone away and said it's rude to do that. Because it is! You're hanging out with someone at a dinner. You don't that the whole time. That's fucking rude. It is. It's common manners. Like, I would fucking, that's just common manners. You don't be on a phone when you're with some, like, when you're out with friends or you're out with your girlfriend or anything like that. It is just rude to be on your phone. Um, I, so I put it away so you wouldn't get mad. Oh, wow, I gotta make sure you put, oh, you wouldn't get mad. Ugh. Eventually, one of the execs asked me what my YouTube channel was and asked my business card. He said I should, a business card, and I don't have any business cards. I don't really do YouTube. He said I should start, and when I do, to let him know. He hands me his business card. Eventually, Joe gets up and says he has a party he has to go to. He motions for me to get up, and the executives all stand up and tell Joe bye and wave goodbye to me. Joe turned to me and said, "Wasn't that nice?" And then we got into a cab that other Joe was sitting in too. Again, there's nothing wrong with this here. There's nothing wrong. I don't get how this is a horrible experience. When in the cab, Joe is talking about us going to Whiskey's for a party, and I finally thank God, because I remember Alan saying that there was going to be a huge party there. By this time, 5 hours have passed, and I haven't been able to use my phone once to tell Alan or my boyfriend that I was okay. We finally get to Whiskey's, and I realize it's much smaller than what Alan had described. I said, "This is Whiskey's?" Joe replied, "Yep, there's two of them." Okay, why would he say that? All he had to say was, "Yeah, there." That just seems really coincidental that she was thinking about another Whiskey's. That just seems very coincidental why he would say, "Yep, there's two of them," without knowing that she knows another one. It's kind of weird. My heart immediately sank knowing that we weren't at the one where I could finally meet up with some people I knew. Joe whisks me inside, and everyone inside greets some another Joe. Joe then grabs my purse and phone and hands it to someone where I can't see, and eventually I'm unable to find for several hours. Oh, it's normal for most. I've been to a party before where you take your phone. It's just to be respectful, so you can talk to people, so you're not always on your phone. I've been to a few parties like that, mainly at film festivals as well. They do this. It's kind of common with these kind of big name events that they will take your phone as a distraction because they see it as a distraction. You're there to be with other people. And in the case of me with film festivals, you go there and you're supposed to be watching a film, not be on your phone. So of course they do take cell phones. It's just a common thing. I've had it done before. Joe starts to introduce me to some game developers and some of his close friends. I nod my head and say hi, hand out what cards I had, and do what I need to. This entire time, I'm unable to buy my own drinks, and Joe has his hands around me or on me. Or maybe this whole article is just dumb. Dude, this is dumb. Wow, dude, this seems so tame, man. As much as he can. He had if I'm not glued to him, he had to find me and make it known to whatever male I spoke to that he didn't want them thinking anything other than I was going on with them. That again, okay. I drank some, eventually hand my drinks off whenever Joe wasn't looking and would try to find my stuff when Joe would go to the bathroom. Eventually, I grabbed my phone and went outside, sent a text to Alan asking him to help, then called my boyfriend. My boyfriend was clearly upset. Why were you sending help? He wasn't doing nothing to you. Like, this whole time, you could have said no. If he put his arm around you, you could have said no. It just seems like he was just being friendly to you. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god. My boyfriend is clearly upset I haven't talked to him for 8+ hours. I tell him what was happening, and he couldn't believe I was talking about the angry Joe. I tell him how weird he was being, but all of a sudden Joe spun me around and started interrogating me. Oh, okay. I lie and say he's interrogating me about who I was talking to. I lie and say Alan. He starts getting angry and said, "Your boyfriend?" Well, he obviously didn't know you had a boyfriend. He probably thought you two were out on a date, or he was probably hoping that you two would go on a date eventually. He didn't know you had a boyfriend, so why are you so shocked when he said your boyfriend? Are you fucking kidding me? You didn't tell him you had a boyfriend. I lie and say, no, you could have. Oh my god, this all could have been avoided. Alan's drunk, so I called him because I can tell Joe was drunk. I was drunk, so I called him because I could tell Joe was drunk and pissed. You had to put pissed in all caps, didn't you? Joe then asked me what Alan's Twitter handle is to prove that he's not only real, but is at PAX East. I tell him, he looks it up and says whatever and tells me to come inside. While he turns away, walks into, my boyfriend tells me to leave. I tell him my purse is still inside and I need money to get a cab. Wait a minute, didn't you just say that your phone and purse were taken and you were not able to find it for several hours? If you were able to find your phone, you should have been able to find your purse. I walk back in versus outside. I need money to get a cab. I walk inside and had two people I met before stop me along with Joe. Joe started telling me it's not safe to go back to the Airbnb with Alan because Alan is drunk. He might rape me. Anyway, I said no way. He's my friend. I just want to make sure that he gets in okay. Joe starts to say, what kind of man needs help? If he can't handle his alcohol, he doesn't deserve to drink anyway. The two people agree and repeat what I would be better off staying with Joe. I repeat again, I need to get back and that my friends check in on other friends, just like he is doing for me now. I lied, but I could tell he's furious, so okay. Eventually, the two people went inside. Joe pulled me off to the side, out of sight from the bouncer, everyone at the bar, and pushed me against the wall and asked me what my idea was. I replied I had no idea what he meant. He replied, "You're no better than every girl. I thought you were better than that." I look at him in shock and he says, "You're no better than every other girl who uses me to get contacts and grow their platform." I immediately deny all this and tell him I'll give him every business card back and say exactly what I thought we were supposed to do. He shakes his head during my explanation and says, "Nope, you're just like all of them," as if he's trying to make me feel bad or something for something I didn't do. He then said, after I do all of this for you, you meet my friends, I take you to dinner that you two paid for. I paid for everything, you just leave me hanging. The least you could do is come back with me. This this just makes it seem she's trying to make it seem like Joe was trying to fucking rape her or something. This is uh I can't wait to read Joe's explanation for this, dude. It's gonna be so entertaining. I immediately say I can't and have to go. He then reminds me not to tell anyone because it would ruin his reputation and mine as well. Two people came outside and asked if we were okay. I said yes and run back inside and grab my purse. Joe then offers to pay for my cab, which I say no thank you, which I didn't want him knowing where I'm staying at. He then replied, "That's surprising," and walked back inside in the bar. I walked 4 to 5 blocks away. Oh, okay, so she didn't get a cab. 5 blocks away, order my cab so he can't see me, and I start to cry. I eventually get back to my Airbnb where Alan was and just cry and tell him everything I told you. Alan was pissed, but I told him not to say or do anything because I literally had no proof that he said or did any of that. Then I tweet about what happened without naming him, and I ended up leaving PAX East a day early because I was afraid to see him again. I ended up getting an Instagram message from a developer I met at Whiskey's. He tells me that he now realizes what happened, but that at the time he didn't see it for what it was and believed that I was right. No one would believe me because I had no proof. I kept this person anonymous as well as I did Alan unless they come forward, but I know they'll most likely be attacked for I'd be attacked for even posting this. The screenshots of the Instagram conversation are below. That's, hey, it was a good meeting yesterday at Whiskey's. How was the rest of PAX? Also, I just saw your tweets about yesterday. I'm so sorry to hear how that's how it all went down. But I want you to know that while I can't speak for everyone else, I was with that night on any official level. Just be aware that the guy you were talking about was acting weird towards me about you. People in the industry saw it, and while we thought it was harmless at the time, seeing your tweets prompted us to have a discussion. The people I was with and the people I know will be keeping an eye on him, hopefully enough that might prevent something like that from happening again. This whole thing is just so stupid. I'm not. No, I'm gonna leave it right here so you guys can read the conversations. You guys can pause the videos. Because again, this could be just a. She doesn't mention the guy's name, and this could be just someone pretending to be a developer at a fucking of a game studio, just faking these conversations. It could be. We don't know. I was working with an esports.org before I was notified of the owner. Is there anything else about Joe here? Nothing else has came of it, and while I tweeted every once in a while warning people, I have been way too scared to come forward. I understand my proof relies on a few DMs between Joe Vargas and I, as well as Instagram messages from someone who I don't have the heart to name unless they come forward. But this is all I have. He has done this before. I have no doubt in my mind he has done this to other women in the industry. Everything he did, he had a reason behind it. I'm sure he'll deny it, but he didn't lose his phone for nothing. Again, people, you were the one who gave him his phone. First off, you could have said no. Second off, it's all could have been avoided. Even if I believe Joe didn't have no ill will. He was probably thought you were single. He probably, gosh, this is so stupid, man. This whole article is dumb as shit. I don't regret speaking up now. I only wish I had done so sooner. I apologize for anyone he may have assaulted. Assaulted? Are you fucking. Don't. Okay. This is. I gotta go on Twitter. Oh, gee, that's a question mark. Let's go to Twitter. Is that Joe has had to respond to this? Where's Angry Joe? There it is, Joe Vargas. Here we go. Has responded. I want everyone to know that there has been some false accusations made against me and that I'm taking this very seriously. My lawyers are now involved, and I will have a full and complete public response shortly, but I have to let them do their job first. It's crazy. Well, he's being very professional about this. So yeah, I mean, what are my opinions to that article? It's I don't believe any of that is out. Some of it may be true, like maybe Joe inviting her out and stuff, and maybe taking her to a nice dinner and stuff. But I do not believe he assaulted her. I do not believe any of that. I cannot wait to see the post response from Joe himself shortly. I'll probably do a reaction to that. But this is fucking crazy that the article is just so dumb, and I'm I'm dumbfounded by that article. It was so dumb. It literally was just her without any evidence with DMs that were harmless. It just seems like, again, she just wants attention. That's what it feels like to me. She just wants attention. So that's my take on this whole situation. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.